Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kingdom Lessons, Release Blessings. I am your host, Regina Platt. I am only a host on God's platform because He allows me to be here in this space with you. And so, again, it's an honor to hold space with you. We have already kicked out on our Monday of this week, and we know that we are being tested. We know that the trials and tribulations are gonna come. Come on. We know that they are trying to knock us off. There's spiritual warfare that in this season that's attempting to remove us, to distract us, to confuse us. But we will continue to stay focused on the things of our Father. Are you hearing me? I am up this morning and I've already in my time period of being up. I was sitting before I even lay down to go to sleep last night. I was like, Lord, help me out. Because I had some tasks that I had to achieve. Come on, y'all. This morning already, today, you have some tasks that you have to achieve. That it feels like your mind is being cluttered up and you're being fought. Come on. Have you ever been fought when you knew you had an assignment you needed to complete? And this is how I started off. I went to bed last night and literally that was my prayer. Lord, I'm tapping out. I'm going to bed. And at 3 o'clock this morning, I was up and back at it, working on a grant section description piece that I needed to have done on yesterday. And so what is it right now that you are struggling with? You're noticing that your mind is being just overly quantified, overly filled with thoughts. It's going to be very important that you sector those pieces out, put them in their departments. Everything should not be all mixed in together. I'm gonna give you the just the visual on this piece. If I'm sitting on today and my accomplishment that I want to make today is that I want to create let's say a pot of spaghetti, a bowl of a pot of chili, like whatever it is you want to think about it. But let's say today my ideal of what I want to produce is I want to make a pot of, I'm gonna say, a pot of oxtail. If I'm in here and I'm in this space on today and I'm choosing that the matter of fact thing that I'm going to do in this point right now is that I'm going to do oxtails. That means I got to get everything out the way so I can go through this process of cooking this pot of oxtails. That means all the stuff that gets in the way. You don't want no rice in the pot of oxtails. The rice you can have later on, but that don't get in the pot with the oxtails. And so there's some things that's coming into your mind right now while you're trying to complete something that's clouding your judgment, that's clouding your creativity, that's clouding that you being a single-mindedness right now, then you got to get this stuff out the way. You don't want chicken in your pot of oxtails. You trying to cook a pot of oxtails, not a pot of mushy chicken. Because when the oxtails is by the time the oxtails is totally done, that chicken is still gonna be overly cooked if you put it in the pot with them oxtails. And it sounds like I'm just talking about craziness right now. But you're trying to design something and define it, and you're allowing yourself to be overly clouded by every and anything else. You're allowing too many things to have access to you right now. Greatness is in you. We walked right in the room and walked right into it. Greatness is in you. But for greatness to come out of you, you got to release some other things too. And you're bound up and weighed down, but all this filthiness of flesh, you got this confusion. You still got altars that have from your father that have not been stricken down. And so the enemy has access to you, not because currently you've done something, but for all the things you have yet to do. So we gotta clean this stuff out.
Yeah.
Blessings. We gotta clean this stuff out. We gotta clean this stuff out. If you got too many clothes, then you don't even know if you can't even find what you're looking for because you got too much stuff that's all in one area. Come on, some stuff need to be cleaned out. You need to be cleaned out. Sometimes we miss out on knowing what we got because we got so much stuff. I told you that the Lord is not only going to remove some people out of your life that are enemy to you and that are hindrance to you and are attempting to break you and destroy you, but he got to move some of them good ones out the way too, because it's clouding your judgment and you are not submitted to his mission, but you submitted to the will of the flesh. So God got to move some stuff out the way. Say thank you in this season. It's going to hurt, but God, thank you for moving some stuff out the way. I told a sister in my office yesterday, I walked in Miss Glenda Brown's office, and I said, Miss Glenda Brown, it's okay for you to tell me to sit down. It's okay for you to tell me to stop. I need somebody in my life in this season that you don't just say stop. You make sure you align me for a stopping point, because I'm a type person that I'll keep going. And that's clouding my judgment because I'm doing good things, but not God things. I need rest. And sometimes and when I don't get rest, it causes me to have stress. And so my body begins to carry what my body is supposed to release. So you got some people around you that you need to allow people to hold you accountable. This is that season of accountability. Remember I said last week, some things got to be exposed. Lord, expose it to me. Expose it to me. This week, as we were going through and we were watching that eclipse, you got people that we claim we ain't got time. We ain't got time for this. We ain't got time for that. But how many people took time? You took time. You found the glasses that you needed, and you took time, put them little glass things over your face. You took time and leaned your little head back and looked up at the sky so that you could see that history-making moment happen. How many of you took time this week, but you claim you ain't got time for anything, but you took time to see something happen this week? See, that was exposure. I do got time. I claim I don't got time. Workplaces that say that they don't want their employees to do this or do that. Schools that said that the children are not secure enough, that they'll get to fighting if we do this. Schools somehow or another found time to buy glasses. They found resources, and they say we don't have time, we can't do this, that, and other, but they found the resources to purchase the glasses. They purchased the glasses, found time in an educational schedule to take the students all outside, for them to line in fields or wherever around the building, for them to watch the eclipse. But we claim we ain't got time when it comes to dealing with the social emotional issues that our children are struggling with. When our children have seen someone killed or heard about someone killed and they're grieving, it's hard. We struggle to take the time to help them to go through the grieving process, to allow them to know that we see them, hear them, and value them. We walk past and push curriculum down their throats while they're broken, they're confused, they're scared, they're unsafe, and they're running from themselves. But we took time to step out the door, throw the glasses on, or we took time to put a hole in a piece of paper, a hole in a box, and allow the children to see the shadow. But imagine if you realize that you were allowed the children and the people around you to only operate in a shadow of themselves because you have not allotted the time to get to know them, to embrace them, or connect with them. And so as we speak through this today, Lord, deliver me. On that list, a piece of paper you got in your house, Lord, deliver me. What are you asking Lord deliver you for? Because today we're going to take time to identify this thing so we can do the healing work. Lord, deliver me. As we walk through this whole month, moving towards the Passover, Lord, deliver me. Lord, I need this thing to pass too. This too, God, in my life gotta pass too, God. This moment shall pass too, God. Lord, deliver me. I need you to, God, again, wipe my slate clean, God. Lord, deliver me. What is it right now that you know that if you get delivered from, your children will have the opportunity to be delivered for some? Lord, deliver me. I don't want my son to become who I am or my daughter to become who I am. Lord, deliver me. Lord, I don't want my daughter to think that when she take her clothes off, that's the only moment that attention will come at her. Lord, deliver. I don't want my son to think that a woman is only valued by what she can make him feel. Lord, deliver me.
Sis, As you saying this, I feel like the Lord's telling me it's not a matter of if I will deliver you.
Hmm.
It's not a matter of if I will deliver you. It's a matter of when, and it's also a matter of how you handle His deliverance. Because Paul talks about um, should we, do bad so that grace may abound. God forbid. He's basically saying like, hey, I know that all things work together for good. All things work together for God and those who are called according to His purpose. And so, from that aspect, even the bad things are going to do good things from that aspect. But He's like, no, don't think that way. You don't want to be a part of the problem. You want to be a part of the solution. And the solution's coming. But if you are a part of the problem, then you won't be able to recognize it as a solution.
Think right there where you're at, right there at that point. When we're saying, so Lord, I'm going to be tried, right? These trials, this weight, these testing you all, these tribulations you going through, this. What did I tell y'all yesterday? I was trying to wrap up and write some stuff on a grant. My mind was not, my mind hasn't been settled like for about 2 weeks straight. I've been operating just like this. No break, no stop. My mind been moving like this. And it came to the point where I was trying to write one small little piece of a whole paper. I had one couple of lines. You know what I'm saying? If you think about writing a half of a paper or 1 page of a 14-page paper, that's all I had. That's all I had to get done. But my mind just wouldn't stop. It just was still turning. And last night I found myself, spoke to somebody, one of my partners on the write up, spoke to her. You all, I literally, and this ain't just me, this something run through my bloodline. We be operating on, you talking about having what they call it, oh my God, ADHD, all them different ADD, all them different things. That's my family, our minds run like that, but we creators.
Me too.
Creators.
My family too. Same way.
Yeah, we creators. So on the spot, I can come up with an idea on the spot. But if you give me something that I gotta shut myself down and think of, so literally yesterday, I walk in here. I know I need to give me something to eat because I hadn't eaten that. Grab me something to eat. Walk in here. I think I'm about to finish up. I tried to do it in the office. It was like you've been at work too long. You need to get off of work. You need to get off work. You've been going hard too long. Go on, get off. So I think if I come home, I'll be able to pick it back up because I left that environment. I can come out. No, the Lord, like, no, but I ate something last night, y'all. I'm in the bed. I'm done. I'm like, we good. And I'm an 11 o'clock person. I shut down from everything by 9, but I'm about 11 o'clock person. Man, got in that bed last night. I said, Lord, wake me up in the morning so I can finish this. Show me. Like, Lord, give me clarity on what you want me to write. I wake up 3 something this morning, literally like different research is coming to me about restorative practices, social emotional learning, suicide, introvert, all this stuff starts like popping up to me. And then after that piece starts popping up, like there was like a paragraph, literally while I'm laying there, this paragraph comes to me and it's like restorative leadership circles is a safe and engaging therapeutic learning environment for K through like literally K through 12, cultivating community and belonging. It like break down a whole paragraph like coming out my mind. I get up, write it, and then that's where I start doing the work at. God gave me just what I needed, but I needed to be delivered from my own way of thinking. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Like you got your way that you're accustomed to doing things in your process and your way. And even the world system will tell you, I should have been able to write that stuff right when I needed to write it. I could not. My mind was on E. It took me literally saying, God, give me what you want. I'm going to bed. Give me what you want me to say. I'm going to wake up early and I'll get this written down. And it's funny because my plan was to wake up at 4:30. My body was up at 3 something. Right? It was up and my mind was like writing. It was like going across the page. Right? And so then by 6 in the morning, I'm sending out an email to my boss and the one of Miss Lou, and it's like 3 people I'm sending out this email to with all this stuff. But that's how my mind works. The world lives by a system that we operate by day and by night. But our job as kingdom citizens is to operate on God's timing. And if God comes to you while it's still dark out. So God came to me during the 4th watch, right? That the time of prayer, right? We know from 6 to 9, that's the first watch. From 9 to 12, that's the second watch. From 12 to 3, that's the third watch. And from 3 to 6, that's the 4th watch. During the 4th watch, I received what I asked God for in the first watch. On the 4th watch, I received what I asked God for in the first watch. And I just had to believe that God was going to give me. And so I received the breakthrough while I was resting. You get that right there? Some of y'all, I received the breakthrough while I was resting. In my rest, I was working. So God was delivering in the dream, right? In the dream, in the vision, in what was in the dirt of the darkness was when he gave me the light. Right? And I hope you can all, as you're listening to me, you can click on to that piece right there, because Lord, deliver me from thinking that I can only get this between a certain time or a certain season or a certain this. What God has given us right now. I said to someone else, I said, my life has been operating in like turbo speed over this. Since we kicked into 2024, it's like a whole nother level of turbo speed that everything has been clicking and operating in. And so remember, I told y'all my head has been like this consistently. And it's like every time I turn around, I'm like, dang, God did it again, or God has said it again. And people are dying and babies are being born like all at the same time. All this is happening. Businesses are opening, businesses are closing. The schools are implementing new stuff. Testing is going on. It seemed like testing just started for the students and it's about to be over already today. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Like everything is going so fast for you. But the one thing I need you to gravitate to is what God said and what God is doing. What God said and what God is doing. And watch how it aligns when you look back in the text. God delivered me from trying to fit myself in today's system. I want to see what God has said and know what God is doing. God has said, God is doing. God has said it, he said it, so I can see it. He said it, so I can see it. So as things are happening, I can give God the glory because I'm reminded of what he said, and now I see. Y'all got that?
Says today, God was reminding me of why it's important to give him the glory.
Whew.
And it's the whole thing. You hear God say stuff like, worship no other God, for I'm a jealous God. You serve only me. And you think, okay, you don't want us to be jealous, but you're jealous. God has a reason for all that. He brought me to basically this example about mirroring. I read a book by Richard Rohr called Falling Upward, and he talks about mirroring with people and how when you walk up on somebody, you meet someone new, you begin to mirror yourself with them. You'll have a conversation and they begin to see parts of themselves in you, and vice versa. You begin to see parts of yourself in them, and y'all begin to reflect each other's lives. And sometimes you can begin to get a gauge of who you are, of where you are, of what you are through this interaction with this person. You're understanding yourself on a deeper level because the connection between you and that other person. Now, he said, I'm gonna go right to it. He said, the most crucial mirroring that a man will ever do. The ultimate mirroring of oneself is when one mirrors himself with God. When he becomes what he become, who he becomes in this event, and for eternity, is a direct reflection of who he perceives God to be. And so, whenever you're basically communicating with the Creator, that's an important conversation because you're communicating with the one that fashioned you. So like the perception you to walk away with of yourself is literally definite, you know? It's forever. It's definite. And so again, I go back to what we were saying earlier is like um it's important. I forgot what I was saying earlier, but yeah, whenever you mirror yourself with God, like you're gonna come out with an opinion of who you are based off of who your creator is. And if you're worshiping and praising the person that made you, you are in fact um instilling those same values inside of who you are. You're believing that about yourself. You're believing that about yourself whenever you are worshiping and praising your creator. You're giving glory to the one that gave you glory. You know,
Yeah.
so it's it's just interesting. He was telling me all that because he was like, we were just talking, and he's like, it's important to be down to earth with me. It's important to be honest with me. It's important to be completely honest, you know, when it comes to our relationship. You know I'm good. You know I'm a good guy. And I need you to be really not an egotistical way am I saying this to you, but I need you to be honest. You know that at the end of all this, you know who I am, and it's good. And you acknowledging that um you acknowledging that it sets your identity right. It
It does. It does.
sets your identity right, you know? And so, yeah, that's what he was showing me this morning.
So that people pleasing piece, I think it's a big part in this season. I've been hearing this word authentic, authenticity, authentic. Authentic. I'm that one. People are using these words, but then when I go back and you see, like you said, this mirroring, you see this person who's a piece of all these other different things that they wouldn't even want to represent, but they're representing it. And now they've called it their identity, their authenticity. And the question is, in your authenticity, you will begin to see that you're mirroring the Father, right? There's more of you where people, when they're speaking about the character of the Father that's showing up in you. And so my
Mm-hmm.
question is, if I'm laying out and I'm telling people that I'm becoming a better me, right? I serve with becoming a better me on the board of it. And part of what that is that people, you're not trying to mold or be modeled into nobody else. You're trying to go through the work for the best pieces of you to be pulled out, right? So Regina, when a Seth comes up to speak, God created me as me. When Seth goes up to speak, Seth takes you on a journey like he's having a conversation with you when he comes up to speak. When he's been on platforms, I watch him. Seth literally has this calming effect. It's so smooth, this laid back approach to as he's presenting. It's just like it's smooth, right? There's no extra rigids in it, no nothing. Like he's there and he's leaning in and he's doing his part and he's giving you the word through his lenses that God gave him these lenses so that this word could come out and hit you the way it hit. And then you have Bryn. When Bryn gets up and speaks, Bryn is like a baby singing a lullaby. It's like literally, he has this debonair smooth to his conversation, a poetic note as he's flowing. Bryn, on the other hand, sound like she's singing lullabies to you. You know what I'm saying? Like it literally, it's like a lullaby singing to you. While she's up speaking the whole time, but you better move out of place while this lullaby is playing to you. And then when Regina comes up, you have people who say like, man, you like loud and outrageous and you this and you made me feel this and my whole heart was beating out my chest this and I started crying and I don't know what I'm crying about this. Y'all, I thought I was doing something wrong for a long time. I was like, why is people crying when I talk or when they in circle with me? They ain't crying when they in circle with them, but I'm supposed to speak to the heart of the matter. That's my assignment, to speak to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
My assignment is to make you come from the inner you and step up out of you. That's my assignment. It don't matter if I'm in a school, if I'm in the streets. It don't. I had to think back to my childhood, and guess what? That's the image in alignment with me mirroring what the Father has done with me. That's how God has done me. I can go into the word or even the experiences that the Father takes me to. So I got to be delivered from people pleasing. I got to be delivered from trying to fit in when my job is to win. You never see someone running track trying to stay by people when they running track. Oh, we gonna run to the finish line like this. Anybody ever seen any of you ever ran a race where you was like, we gonna run like this to the finish line? No, you are you're smoothly in the technique that you've been ordered, the way that you train, and you're flowing in your gifting, your assignment, and you know there's a place called there that I gotta reach, and you ain't focused on nobody else but the place called there. You ain't trying to see what mama and them doing, grandma and them doing, cousin them doing. You don't even care how many places. Once you get on that line to start that race, you don't care how many other people there. And so some of us is losing because we people pleasing. And we getting distracted. Some of us, we getting distracted. You a whole mama, a whole daddy. But you comparing how you father your kids to how other people father their kids. When God ain't put before you a whole leader, a whole manservant, a whole creator, a whole solution, a whole gift he put before you, and you dealing with your gift the way others have been given. God, your gift will make room for you. Children are a gift from God. Play that. I said your gift will make room for you, right? Stop there. It says in scripture, your gift was gone. In the same scripture, later on in a whole different place, it said children are a gift from God. In a whole nother place in the scripture, it talks about how father's children are like arrows that they put in this bow and they actually set them up to go, right? It set them up to flow. That ain't the word, and I just spoke Ebonics to you. But this whole thing, you're taking these children, these gifts, these tools, these valuable substances, right? These ones that can be directed, and you put them in your bow, you put them in with this fine-tuned piece of craftsmanship called you, and you hand put it up and you pull them back. You got to do something. You don't pull them in the bow and then go like this and they go somewhere. You got to pull it back. So that means it got to be some restraint. That means it's some work to it. That means there's some pressure to go through it, and you got to let it go. Some people don't want to let it go because somebody else's kid died or something happened here, or you watch how others start. Or because you feel like your parents let you go too early, you don't want to let your kids go. So you hold it tight to them, and as you hold tight to them, they never go nowhere. They fall right at your feet. And so they got all this destiny locked up in them, all these solutions, all this creativity, all this potential is locked up in them, and they die right at your feet. And what should have went beyond you died right before you. What should have went beyond you dies right before you because you wouldn't pull back, train and develop it, listen to it, understand it, prepare it, and then let it go. You wouldn't do it.
Having faith.
Amen. Having the faith. And the faith in who? The faith in the Father. The faith in the Father. If it was up to me, all my children would be right with me. But the faith in the Father calls them to go further. The faith in the Father, your faith in the Father, should have your children, as you pull back in the realm of faith, that they go further than you went. So if my children have only achieved what I achieved, did I really have faith? If my children and my grandchildren end up in poverty and get the same thing that I got, where's my faith? If my children see and become to a point where they believe that marriage ain't for my family, where's the faith? And where did it start and where did it fall? You can measure that thing, right? If my children are more dependent on the blunt, come on, y'all, on the blunt than they is on the word, what did I teach them about faith? Because I taught them how to medicate themselves. medicate themselves with a drink, medicate themselves with smoke, medicate themselves with sex. What I told them is faith don't work. Because I didn't point them nowhere. Are y'all hearing me? So let's go back to this piece as we go the deliverance in this season is I gotta be delivered from people. I gotta be delivered from limited thinking. I gotta be delivered from the lust of the flesh. Come on, I gotta be, Lord, in your notebooks as you are sitting up this morning. I need you to get some things written down because I can't tell you what you need to be delivered from. I can only sweep around my own front door and identify the things I need to work on myself and ask God to show me my nastiness so that I really get this thing cleared out. We had people that, as they were speaking, they said, experience like everything slowing down and stopping for them during that point of the eclipse. They noticed the animals wasn't moving, like the birds wasn't flying. There was certain things you wasn't hearing, you wasn't experiencing. There was a level of peace that was happening where you wasn't hearing nothing but where you was in the moment. And imagine right now, God has you in a season where He wants to help you deal with this because he has another level He's taking you through. But you got to get through this exposure where He's exposing to you that you really ain't been pulling on the bow. You really ain't been pulling back in the faith. Do you really believe? That was about 2 months ago. I asked you the question, do you really believe? And if you don't believe, ask the Father to help you in those areas where you have little belief or your faith, you're struggling with your faith. Ask the Father for help. Ask them for help. And I'm telling you, it's not going to look like their system. This is intimacy that God is taking you in, where you're going to be able to see how God is working things out for you, how God is connecting with you.
Sis, whenever you work at any job, they all value. I think I talked about this before, but God will answer every prayer. He will answer every prayer. He's good to save. He's good to deliver. It's just the way that He does it, and the way that looks is different than what we perceive it to look like sometimes. And then our confusion sets in. But that confusion, you know what I'm saying, between how God's going about doing what He's doing for your good and how you expect God to go about doing what He's doing for your good. That confusion can easily be identified when you look at the difference between time, money, and energy, the way we value it in our society. This will give you a clear picture of that. In a business, they value the money, of course. They value the time. They manage these things. They make sure they get the most of these things. And to an extent, they value the energy, but they don't fully really acknowledge the energy. And there's a whole breakthrough here of the way of the thinking of the world versus the way of God's thinking. Energy is spirit. And that's what, when they say when a company says, we can't make this financial decision for the business because it could hurt the morale of the company. This matters to us. That's their way of saying energy matters. Spirit matters. I know we focus on time and we tell them we make them manage their time. We make sure we get the most time, and every business knows about money, but energy matters, because ultimately, if we lose the morale of these people, they will no longer output anything for us to make time or money. We won't get any of these without energy first. And so I use that example to show you that the world does not value energy. It doesn't recognize it as a resource. It recognizes time and money, but God knows the value of energy, and low key, even the business owners, because in order for a lie to keep going, you have to keep a secret. And so they're not going to talk about energy from a worldview. They're not even going to acknowledge the spiritual realm from a worldview. The worldview is going to be acting like the devil's not real and God's not real. Like there's no power struggle between energy here. There's no negative and positive energy fighting for our life force for eternity. The world is not going to acknowledge that, because that would destroy the system that's built on this lie, that it's not there. And so all that to say this: what we value based on the world's ideologies um, it can contradict what God values in his ideologies and what's truly important and what's forever and what's spirit. And we know it, but we won't admit it. And so you find yourself asking God for blessings, and God's blessing you with energy. He's blessing you with characteristics. He's blessing you with emotions and feelings and spiritual attributes that are of real value. It's for your morale. The morale comes first. The energy is first. You got all these people in the business. If all of them are down and depressed, the business will not run. Doesn't matter how much money you have or how much time you have in that business. It don't matter if you don't have energy, and none of that's relevant. God knows what comes first. It's energy. And so when it comes to blessing us, it has to do with our character. When it comes to what the work he's doing, it has to do with our character. It has to do with the character of other people. It has to do with energy. And so that first of all, we gotta wrap our minds around and know that whenever we ask God for something, it has to do with the benefit of the most valuable thing. Doesn't have to do with money. Doesn't have to do with time. That's why when you said we got to operate on God's time versus this world's time, what you're really saying is energy can't be created or destroyed, but can only be converted from one form to another. It lives on forever. That is the time we are working on, is a forever time. The world's working on a temporal time, and it's thinking about time and money. It's literally considering time as a factor. When you've got your priorities out of whack, the system is bound to fall. It is just a matter of time. And so the priorities are out of whack. And yeah, we just saying we're working on an eternal time scale. We're valuing things that are eternal. We're valuing things that mean something forever, not things that just mean something right here and right now. And
And that,
when we get
that's a
blessings and salvation, it looks different. It looks totally different than
and
what the world would call it.
that's a very important piece. I think even as we you break down that piece right there, we talk to, and in the physical, right, you talk to someone who has been in education for years. They know, right, they know that they know they can go out and they can retire, but they can walk back in a classroom, or they can walk back into a space, and they know the lessons that they gain through that time, that energy they invested in that process, that they remained in that process until the fullness, until the end. There was gifting, there was openings, that there was creations that were released to them, favor that was released to them, relationships that were built by them based off of the whole concept of them giving of them full selves. And to give of your full self, the spirit is going to be involved in that, right? The spirit you cannot show up in the physical in a job without your spiritual showing up. And so I say to some who say things like, at work, I can't be Christian, I can't do this, or I can't do that. And I'm in a season right now where I show up in every aspect of my life. I am first a child of God. Before all other things, I am first a child of God. I hold this position even when I interview. This is the funniest thing in my life now. Even on my interviews, I show up as a child of God in that interview. If they research me, whether
And
it's,
then sometimes they don't want you to show up that way.
but
It's
if
like
they
they
don't,
want a shell, a body without a soul. Sometimes,
but God won't let me stay. You get what I'm saying? Like, God won't let
right?
me remain in them
Yeah,
places. So
yeah, that's true.
when whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, come on, give me some of the other ones, because we got so many of them named
Oh
out there.
Lord, it's
If,
Revelation time.
if you go up and you see Regina on any one of those platforms, whether I was speaking at the universities, or whether I was speaking in a community, whether I was in circle, you knew that the child of God was in that space with you. You knew that. And there was a season of my life where I was operated being double minded. And I asked the Lord to deliver me from that. There was a spirit of my life, a season of my life where I was operating being double minded. I love it, and now, and I'm not going to say that I still don't struggle in some areas. But I love it that now when I'm out of order, that it's like I'm convicted I thank God for conviction. I thank God for exposure. I don't know about you that tap into this if you're okay with that, but I'm not in a season where I want to die in mess. I'm not in a season of my life where I want to die in mess. So I need the Holy Spirit to convict me when I'm messing up. One of my prayers, not only for myself, but for my children, that when we were out of alignment, that the Holy Spirit would quickly convict them. So I was one of the mothers that you went out and did some things in the community. I wasn't the mother that was going to go and follow behind you and be behind the wall like doing this. I literally prayed a prayer over my children. And I asked the Lord, Father, have my children aligned in your will. But Father, if they step out of your will, convict them quickly. Convict them quickly, God. Let it come out quickly. And so I would watch when my children, because I didn't want my kids to be in their 40s and learn a lesson that they should have learned when they was in their teen years. So have you ever heard a kid say they didn't know that was wrong? Or you meet a grown person who's standing before you, or she or he or whoever, and you meet them and you like, man, they don't even know what they doing is wrong. Have you ever met a grown person where you like, I don't know what I don't think they really understand what they're doing. What you're doing is here finding in spirit, your spirit is telling you that it ain't that they purposely did this. They really don't know what they're doing. So my prayer that I put out is, Lord, don't let my kids sit in it. Let my child, like the prodigal son, he thought he knew what he knew, but when he came to himself, right? I want my kids to come to themselves. Why is you eating out the hog pen when you got a whole mom? Why are you laying and sleeping in home as the homeless or the displaced when you really ain't got to be displaced? Why are you operating in mediocrity when God has made you the head and not the tail? Why? And so my thing is, even for myself, and y'all know I bring up relationship. Even for myself, the Lord won't let me be in no horrible relationship. He will convict me if I don't take the private conviction, the private exposure. He will expose me in front of everybody. The Lord will not let me remain on jobs that's out of order. The Father cut all the money out of a budget on a job so I can leave a job. He told me to leave. I refused to leave. The Lord he said, you ain't going to listen to me. He cut the whole budget off from up under. He cut the whole budget to fund. He put a budget in place to fund me going in there and cut the budget to send me out because I didn't leave when he told me to leave. So
Sis, go ahead.
No, so I'm saying to you all, these are things in your life that you have to evaluate. When the Lord wanted me to leave a place where I was living at, and it was no longer time for me to live there, I was in South Carolina. The Lord came to me, you all. He came to me and said, your children will not become if you remain here. Your children will not become if you remain here. You got to get them out of here. And literally imagine having to go to your husband who is from this place or your significant other who is from this place, and you got to say to them that I got to get the kids out of here because if my kids stay here, they ain't going to come. Either you can come at this point. It was like, at this point, because I knew he had ties to this place, right? But I did not have ties to that place. So at this point, I have to go to this man and say to him, either you come with me or you ain't got to come with me, but I got to get my kids out of here. We moving, right? And literally stuff begins to align for me to leave that place. Now, I'm not telling you it was easy when I left that place. Only time that stuff always goes easily for me in a space is when I do what God tell me to do. Anytime, and when I say easy, I ain't saying perfect, right? But I'm saying I can notice that even if there's hardship, everything's provided for. Even if there's hardship, I need you to think about this. When God is sending you into some places, it may not be like the last place you was in, but even in hardship, all your needs will be provided for. And the Lord would do that. And the kids, like I watched the kids would go in and they're thriving in these environments. I call myself moving to Memphis, y'all, after I left because I didn't want to come back to Kansas. What do y'all think happened again? I got there and literally I thought my kids wasn't being enslaved. I was like, hold on. They got these kids, these schools set up like these schools is like literally slave plantations. The kids can't play. The kids they ain't got no gym class where the kids was going to school. And everybody had to be in the same uniform and wasn't no color, wasn't no variety. And I was literally, my skin was crawling. You gotta go.
Oh my goodness.
Every single thing my children needed, the Lord was providing for above and beyond. I tried to work on a job when I was in Memphis. Literally, the Lord was like, no. He was like, but he took me in there and he was like, you see how these kids is being treated? You can't stay here. You got to go. Either you got to run this or you got to leave this. And you're not in position yet to run this, so I got to take you out of this. And literally, so I'm telling y'all, God is going to show you. And it was like a divide because the person that I had to tell that I got to move my kids out of here, thought that what I was saying was, you're not enough. You're not capable enough. I don't trust you. I don't believe in you. But really, it was the Lord was saying to me, take these kids out of this place or they won't become.
That's so deep, sis. That's so deep. Can I share something?
Yeah.
There's so much stuff you're saying when you talk about just God taking you out of a place that is killing you slowly and that is causing the death of who you really are, not your physical death, but your spiritual death. I want to drop real quick what you was just saying, that sometimes God will take parents away from their kids because the parent can be dead, and God knows that the arrow in your quiver will not go far. You're not going to shoot. That child's not going anywhere with you. And so he will take the child away from you so that the child doesn't die. He's doing that for you. And you're mad at him because you're dead and don't know that you're dead. And you're mad at him for taking your child, but you were feeding on the life force of your child. So that was just something that's close to home. But I just shared it because, when you said it, that's what came to my mind anyway.
But that's a word right there. When you even think about that piece, my children could not, like right now, my girls and my son are in a whole nother place, but they're growing leaps and bounds. Or you get what I'm saying? And it's not, and the other part is not only are they growing, I'm growing leaps and bounds, right? And so that even just like this is the month that my brother and Mark were killed. And to think about my brother, one of my daughters called me and she said, Mom, it just feels, I don't even know how to think. And I'm like, we're on year 2 now. They've been gone 2 years. Actually, no, they've been gone 4 years. You see how grieving process actually works? And literally, so I'm saying to her, you need to be around people you love, your conversation. This is not time to isolate yourself. And it actually that exposure just broke me because now I understand this overloadedness I've been having, right? I've been carrying something, not even knowing that I'm carrying something. And as me and you are sitting down, that's the thing about Kingdom Lessons, Release Blessings. As we're having the conversation, we're released from some things, right?
Mirroring is liberating. Mirroring, especially with God in the midst, is very liberating.
Yeah, because one of the things is that this month in April, it since they lapsed, since they exited the earth realm, and with the unknowns, I have in this month carried and didn't realize that I carry. And so when March, I had this whole thing, but when April kicked in, I've been really heavy in the month of April. And I have a lot going on, but it's all awesome stuff, right? Like, God, thank you. Um, but even though I was hearing my daughter saying that, I didn't realize I was carrying it. But anyway, let's go on. So, I'm talking to her about, the girls making sure they're supporting each other, checking in on each other, and just validating, right? Validating that they're both are supported and just giving each other a word. And sometimes we as Christians, we know how to throw the scripture at one another, but we don't know how to be human with one another. Like, not only to say human, I feel like God, if we're mirroring the Father, as the Father knew that woman was struggling at the well, as the Father knew that when Hannah went in and she was when she was praying and wanting a child, God knew what she needed. And you see where the rabbi had to move past the pastor or whatever, he had to move past talking to her about her being drunken to him being able to hear, not only in the physical, but hear her in the spirit. As she was saying, this is what she's praying for. She's praying for her man child. Like, she's struggling with this. This is heavy for her. And I think he had it, and he encouraged her before she left him. He left her with a word of encouragement. And I think sometimes we're not leaving each other with words of encouragement. We're throwing the book, but we're not throwing the words, the ministry of exhortation. We're not operating in that spirit of exhortation with other people. And I think the fact is, even though it's been 3 years or it's been 20 years or 30 years, or that everything looks like it's in shambles, you should still have a word of kindness, a word of intention.
Can I say this too?
Yeah.
A lot of times you'll question, as a big encourager, you'll question, am I encouraging this person or giving them false hope? Am I just people pleasing, or am I really encouraging? Sometimes the person can be over exaggerating. Sometimes the person can just tell you what sounds good. Sometimes the person will just tell you what feels good because they don't want you to look sad, and that affects their mood. So they're like, we got to get them up any way we can by all means. There's no acknowledgement of truth. There's no acknowledgement. There's no real foundation for that person's hope and belief that things will get better. And we live in a world that does sell a lot of gaslighting, lies, and a lot of we're constantly, Psalms 12 talks about, every man speaks lies to his neighbor nonstop with flattering lips and a double mind. We're predatory towards each other in that sense, in that, but anyway, all that to say this, really, when you talk about encouraging, you really are just a reminder. That's improper grammar, but you're a reminder. That's all you are. You're not encouraging. You're not doing anything extra of yourself. You're just stating the truth and reminding that person of the promise, of the reality that you live in and have knowledge of, that they lived in and have knowledge of. You're reminding them of the truth. You know the truth, and you're reminding them of the truth. That it will get better. This thing is not going to change. It's going to change.
And I think that's why our testimonies are so powerful. Not only are testimonies powerful, I'm going to tell you, I don't think I've ever encouraged a person, even a person that has hurt me, that it was work for me to encourage them. That's how you know you operating in truth. It's like God literally gives the word. It's not like I'm like,
right. It shouldn't be work.
You know what I'm saying?
That lie will leave you empty. The lie will leave you feeling empty.
You're literally
the truth will leave you full. How you full?
You're literally just going in and giving them. We were a couple weeks ago. We were at a women's retreat place, and as we were doing it, the women had to go down this line, kind of like a Soul Train line, and each woman had to walk through it. Every person had to speak a word over her that she walked by. Now she had to become a part of this line, right? And so one of the things, you don't know what's in you until you know what's in you. And so you have women that were like, this is not, I don't know these women. Like, what would I say to this woman? I don't know her. Like, how How would I know what words she need to have spoken over? And your job is to be a vessel for the Father to speak to. And so we're in a Christian setting where the women were supposed to give words that the Lord gave them. Whatever God put in your heart to speak over this sister, you were supposed to speak over this sister. But women found themselves flowing, and they were like, this was kind of awkward for them. And I think God has taken us in a season where you're not operating on your own accord. Part of your self-control is to step out of self when you're thinking that this is the only word to say. People need real life word, like real life words. Some of the most invaluable words that were spoken over me that God used people that never met me. And when the first time they're meeting, some of the relationships I gained with people all over the world where relationship were gained through people by people that I spoke a word over the first time I met them, and we were connected from that point on. And so God will have you speak a word that will connect you to your destiny agent. But you think, I don't know this person, so I can't say what I've been told to say to this person. But what if the word that you've been called to give them was the word that was going to deliver them? What
And
if
it wasn't yours? And it wasn't your word.
It wasn't your word. It was. Have you ever heard people say, "I didn't know if they was ready to receive that word"? When God gave you the word, God didn't give you the word to figure out whether they was ready to receive it or not. He told you to be the giver of the word, not the keeper of the word. You're the giver of the word. The prophet is a messenger. Your job is to give the word in the assigned timing that God give you to give the word. So if God gives you a word, your job is to say, God, when you want me to speak the word. Because if he give you the word, he giving you who he wants you to speak the word to. But maybe you need the validation of when to speak the word. And your job is to go forth and speak the word. Your job is not to speak the word so that you could be seen or you could be heard. Your job is to go speak the word into them so God can speak the word to them. Not so that everybody can praise you because you spoke a word. Have you ever seen people they could have called them on the phone and spoke the word, but they wait till they in front of everybody on the microphone and they telling all these people business? No, some word God didn't tell you to grab that mic and speak. We want to be used, but can't get. Let me put this up here on here. We want to be used, but can't get out of self. And that is so true. Even when working with kids, I watch people who have been doing this work or want to do this work, and they want the kids to receive the work the way they receive the work, receive the word the way they receive the word. But what if I'm a person that receives in picture and you can't paint a picture through your word for me to be able to see what you're saying to me? So all you doing is dictating and speaking at me. And then after you speak the word to me, let's say you speak at me and I can't get a picture of what you're saying, then it just falls. But if I'm a person that's so you got the auditory person, but then you have a visual person. The visual person should be able to see what you're saying while you're speaking through the word, through the auditory piece. So they're hearing it through the ear, but they're seeing it with their eyes as you speak it. And I love it because the Father, when he speaks in his text, all through the Bible, you see where he speaks a word that shows up in your mind. Even when you're reading it, you see it. Now, since you see it, you can actually see it's like I read the Father's word, and as I'm reading, or as the bishop or pastor or somebody is speaking, I'm watching the video, they're speaking the word, I begin to see what they're speaking and how it lines up with my life. And then I am able to show mastery of that. I am able to document that and then be able to show mastery of that within the weeks coming after that word is given to me. Right? But if I can't see it, because I'm a seer, if I can't see it, even though I heard it, it didn't go nowhere. It didn't go nowhere. So I'm the type person, if you show me a number, if you ain't showing me what this number tied, or you give me data, but you ain't showing me the heart of the person, how this hits the heart of the person. If I can't, now the other part with that, I'm kinesthetic as well. So if you're talking about people, I not only got to see it, but I got to feel it. So if you're talking about we're putting on this big thing for people and the people are coming in, I gotta feel what they're gonna experience before we even walk in the room. So the Lord allowed me to feel in my
That's
body.
so that's so wild. The very needs you have are the very needs you supply. And that crazy, that realness, that authenticness, that genuineness that the audience feels when you speak.
Yeah,
That's the very thing you need.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's why I said that part. This is how I channel things through. So for the analytical mindset, for me, I you need the data from me. You need me to give you them data points. And so for me, the data points for me, not only do I can give you a couple of those in there, but because even though you get that data, it may not click and you may see those people or those things as a number. Now I got to take you through as I speak to you through you feeling everything I just said to you, where
Mm-hmm.
you see that you can be touched too, or
Mm-hmm.
that you're struggling with this too. And
Right.
so it's a
Realness.
whole journey.
Realness.
I,
Realness.
and I would call it holistic approach, where God literally brings us in and he brings in the whole self, where he's like, I want, and I told y'all this as we stepped through. God said, I want all of you. Like I don't want just an inkling of you. I don't want you on days. I don't want you at moments. I don't want you in seasons. I don't want you when you're up, or I want you just when you're down. I want
Mm-hmm.
all of you.
That's good.
I want everything. And it's
That's
funny
good.
because even when I think away the Lord I serve said he want all of them, it's like I don't want to be in a relationship with nobody that I can't give them all of me.
Mm.
I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me
Right. You
that
can't cry in front of.
he can't give me all of him. I want to see the tears when he snotted out. I want to see when he on his up and up, when he down. I want to see him when he's sick. I want to see him when he went through the healing process. I
Mm.
want to see him. Now, I'm
Mm.
not going to
Oh,
carry him. I'm not going to carry him. But I want to see the full. I'm not going to sympathize with his condition. I will empathize and I will work with him to build him, but I won't do it for him. So I want to see, and I feel like that's how the Father is for me. Like when I put myself in a position and I mess up, God does not sympathize with me. He empathizes with me, but he holds me accountable for those he called me to be which he called me to be responsible for. He told me to have self-control. So he orders my footsteps, and when I step off the path and don't go the way he told me to go, he don't run and throw me back on the path. He let me go and fall and bump my head. And when I bump my head, he say, the path is still open for you. You know, he like leans me back, like, you see over there? You could be right over there. Go on and walk over there. Now, because my destiny is on the move, my destiny is already going, and now I got to do the work to run and catch up to my destiny. So it's a little harder for me at that point. But it don't mean it ain't still open for me to go get it.
mm.
I just got to get back up and go where I'm supposed to be at. I got to get back in alignment. Am I feeling a little sad about it? Yeah, you feel a little sad about it. You know, you internalizing this thing. But God says, I forgive you. Now come on home, daughter. Come
I
on
think
home.
that sympathy piece versus empathy piece,
Mm-hmm.
that's real important. Um, so when we talk about energy being valuable, we talk about time and money being valued in this world, but energy not being really accounted for or valued. And when we talk about how, with energy not being valued, people don't even recognize whenever it's particularly pure energy. They just feel really good around you. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they got good energy, but they still don't value it. They still don't see like the value in energy in general, let alone the value in your particular spirit. When you talk about that, and then you talk about like if energy is a real resource that we're not really valuing as a whole in our society, and then but it's still valuable, then people are buying and selling it, trading it and giving it. People are getting bunches of it without it even being recorded or noticed or accounted for. And so we talk about the exchange of energy between people on a regular basis. And I'll have to get back to the sympathy versus empathy piece. There were four monks that went up on top of a mountain to learn the spiritual aspects of nature through meditation and prayer and things like that. And when they came down, they had an understanding of how energy is transferred and how it works. And they found out that there's four ways that people get energy. One is you can be a scornful person. Whenever I'm talking and you're listening, I'm taking your energy that way. And that's why the Bible talks against scorning. A person that always has something to say, always trying to domineer there and be totalitarian and just want to speak over your life all the time and influence you through their words. Scornfulness is a way of, that's why preachers like, quiet churches make me preach longer. I can't hear y'all. And he's always like, I need to hear amen. He's saying that because yes, he's giving the word of God. Yes, he wants communication and back and forth, and rightfully so. We should all be agreeing on the word of God. But the part of it is energy, is he's losing if you're not listening. And it takes energy to listen. So scorning's one, and then the other is bullying. A person can walk up to you and punch you and make you feel inferior or talk bad about you or just exercise their willpower over you, and you will lose energy. They took your energy that way. They were lacking and feeling inferior themselves and lacked character themselves. And the only way they knew how to get reassurance was to domineer their power over you. They took your energy. Literally, they had none, they took yours. And then the other way is is uh is sympathy. Whenever a person's always like, oh, poor me, this happened to me, and they're always the victim, and they always, oh man, I had a bad day, and they want you to feel sorry for them, and they want that encouragement. But really, encouragement is just you stating the truth. It's not you selling anything extra of yourself or telling a pretty sugar-coated crystally donut. No, it's literally you just giving them the truth. That's what encouragement is, reminding them of the promise that it's the truth. You don't have to do anything extra. But what they want is actually energy. Whenever they're just like, oh, poor me. And yeah. And then the last way that you can get energy is through God. The most efficient way to get energy and the source of all energy is God. And the way the monks describe that is as nature, everything God made, the natural life force on trees, on plants, on animals, on birds, that energy that's coming off of them that's so natural, it will redirect yours to the pure source. And then you will feel the energy coming back. And so we walk in a world that's very deprived of energy. But the empathy and sympathy piece I had to hit on because I just know that I struggle with that a lot. And I realized that it's not that I have an addiction to that energy that you get from being poor me all the time. I have addiction to getting energy that way from being poor me all the time and always being the victim. And God hasn't called us to that. He given us a spirit of power. Greater is he that is within us than he that is in the world. And so what God will do, this is the other part. What God will do to a person that is poor me all the time and getting their energy that way is he'll back away until they rise up in power on their own. Until they rise up in power that they have, he'll back away. And a lot of people will walk away. Actually, it says in the Bible that everyone wants to be friends with a rich person. It says in Proverbs. But the poor, everybody's like, I don't want nothing to do with them because they're always in need. You know, they don't have any power of themselves. Even though they have it, they don't use it. And so God will back away and let that person just.
And I love that you brought that part back out right there about the rich and the poor piece, because a lot of times in the word it's talking about in that piece of the spirit. When you're rich in spirit, you notice that people cling, whether shaman, whether whatever it is, a pastor, people within community you've come in contact with that are natural. They just have this natural healing energy in them, this natural, it appears this exhortation energy in them where they just, the spirit, People that come around them grow leaps and bounds by being connected to them. People that come around them leave refreshed and restored. Like, those are the type of people you want to be. You find yourself. That's the type of person you want to connect with daily, whether you're on their social media, watching their social media, where it is that this is a person that you call, or the thought of that person runs through your mind daily, where it's like, I'm safe here. This is someone I'm safe with. I'm growing with. My life is being transformed as I come in contact with. And I think it's very important for us to know that sometimes we look at the person who is physically full of finances, but no one wants to be near them. You see, they the rich man, rich externally, but internally they're deprived, they're poor, they're dying. And so people, only time people go around them is when they're taking from them. And so realize that the energy, the internal spiritual energy that God has fortified you with, because it's God's breath of life that he breathed into you so that you could get up, so that you could move forward, so you could come up out of your grave, right? And so knowing that all energy, all of that goes back to the Father, because anytime I begin to operate on dark energy, eventually, I remember one thing that was said to me. When people are doing those curses and those spells and they're attempting to do things on people, it's very important. A lot of them, they're doing stuff, my people perish for lack of knowledge. That's biblical piece, right? And so sometimes you could be doing some things because your family was doing some things. And so you begin to do it and you notice that you begin to die afterward because what happened, or you begin to be hated because once that spell is broken, or that curse that you projected out there is broken, then that person begins to hate you, or you notice that this energy a force has to come back on you. This dark force is now being bestowed on you, but it was because you got caught up in some stuff you should never be, and dabbled in some stuff you never dabbled in. So
that
now
energy got to go somewhere. Energy has to go somewhere.
So now it's so one of my prayers is, Father, everyone that has shot arrows at me to destroy me, words of bitterness, words of brokenness, return it back to sender. And so get this, what's happening is what's been projected out there now towards the innocent now has to be returned back to the one that sent it. And so you thought you got away. So think about this. You have parents, grandparents, parents.
Oh, Seth, real quick. The only way for them to win in that situation is if they can get you to start sending out bad energy.
Hold on.
That's the only way they win, or they can come to any peace.
If you're upholding and your prayers will go right, even for your money. Remember the currency, the financial currency is the bottom. It's the lower level. The one that the currency that we see, the money, the paper that we hold, the cards that we hold are the bottom level of this whole financial currency piece, right? And so the financial currency piece, that this money's piece, it's a heightened level in the spiritual piece. And so this money in the energy piece, the connectivity piece. Have you ever walked into a bank, you didn't have $1, but you have favor with the Father, and then you received a loan? Real talk. I tell my own stuff.
The attitude.
I went to go get a whole car. I went to go get a whole car. I know I had a repo car on my credit. I know, right? People say what you want. I know, but I got a Father work for me. I walked in to get a car. They couldn't even see the repo on my thing. That repo was not out of season. They could not see it on the credit. God had blocked it. They see me as a new car owner. I'm doing hand things. I'm telling you what that I know. And they brought me back the credit report thing and read it to me. God had blocked it. After I left there, because I was concerned about it, I left there and I went and I could see it. I could see that the repo car was on my credit report. But in the car place to get the car, several companies, it was blocked. So in the spiritual realm, depending on God's currency is greater than any currency that a man can print for you. But to have that access, who you are connected to in the people. Like this morning, literally I contacted somebody in a school district in another state, and I asked them could they still have connections within the school district, because I wanted to be able to get in the school district. And they told me yes, and I think I can work out a plan to connect you to some people in that district. Right? So again, somebody got a seat at the table now, which is currency, relationship. And I truly believe, as my bishop would say, that relationships are the foundational currency of humanity. If you're in relationship with the wrong person, you're going to get they jump. In relationship with the right person, you go. Some relationships, doors get closed. I've been in a relationship with somebody. The last relationship I was in with a person, the last relationship, my finances starting. It was like somebody had put a spell, and my finances were being drained out of me. I'm talking about they was going like this, right? You could be in a relationship with a person and notice that you begin to increase. You got more access. You got more opportunity.
And then
You
it
know
can
what I'm
stop.
saying?
And then
Huh?
it can stop. I said, and then it can stop.
It can stop, but God will take you and he'll show you, right? He'll show you while he's increasing you. And so it's very important to me in this season. I say to people, Lord, to the Father, deliver me from, again, people pleasing. And God, show me, give me access to what you are saying. All, Lord God, cut off and destroy all money spells, all money covenants to deplete my finances, God. Everything that you have laid down for me to have, God, let me get all the inheritance. Let the inherit me be released to my destiny agents. Because God, you said that there was people that want to assist me, that you have aligned to assist me, to support me, and to stand with me. God, release them to find me. Unblock their eyes. Take the cloudiness, the filter off of their ears and their eyes, God. I don't care where they are in the world. Those that you have called to be destiny agents to the mission you have called me to, God, let them find me. Let them find me in order, not out of order, not operating in self, not operating in confusion, not operating in brokenness. Lord, let them find me fully. And that's how I see, right? I sit with that, and I see that in this season. So again, y'all, we in this with Lord, deliver me. Because we need it. Where God's taking you at, you can't take your mess. You got to bring your best. So God,
and then remember, God is faithful to deliver. He that began a good work is faithful to complete it. He's gonna finish that job that he started on you. That's his business. He's not gonna give up. He just ain't. He's not a quitter. Because of him, because of who he is, it's gonna happen. And it's nothing you can even do about that. You can't stop his deliverance. How about that? You can't even stop his deliverance. But here's the thing that God's really just trying to say to you is like, are you going to be in this with me? I'm going to do it either way. Are you going to be a part of this with me? Or am I going to drag you kicking and screaming? Because I'm going to do it. And deliverance looks different from God's point of view versus our human point of view. It looks different. So we got to be on the same page with him as he's doing it, so that the experience is with him and not like without him. The experience is just like horrible. It's just like it's like you think God hates you. Without God, the experience of deliverance is horrible. You would think God hates you. Jesus would think God hated him. My God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus thought God had left him in his hour of deliverance.
2:12. Hallelujah.
In his hour of deliverance, Jesus thought God had left him. Why have you forsaken me? And that's Jesus. That's one whose whole life he is the word of God. And all that deliverance, like really put it in perspective. God's trying to get you into a mind frame where you're like, you got to know that you know that you know. And when you know that you know that you know, you got to remind and remind and remind. yourself every minute. That's why Psalms 119 was written. It's a whole psalm, a long psalm, one of the biggest psalms in Psalms. And some say it's a whole Bible. It's like the psalm itself is like a mini Bible, because that man talks about his like need and desire for the scriptures to no end. He just keeps going over and over about the promise of God and how like it's his life. He'll die without it. If he didn't have, what would I do? He's just going on and on and on about what he's going through and his depth of need for God's promise in this very moment. And so the deliverance is coming.
It's coming.
It's not a matter of if God will deliver you from an addiction, if God will deliver you from abusive relation, if God will deliver you from poverty. It's not a matter of any of that stuff. That stuff's coming like a freight train. He's gonna do it.
Imagine
But
knowing
the process is what we gotta wrestle with.
That's why it's like, it's funny because we just aligned. Imagine knowing you're in it. You're in the process of progress. You're in it. You're in the process of being delivered. He has you like right there in that point. Don't step out of this process. Don't step out of. I love as you were talking, I kept hearing Leandria singing that part of the song that she's singing in with the God, and knowing her life, the addiction, the struggles that she still, has to fight, the trauma she's been impacted by, and she sings that song. And y'all, I'm gonna try, but I can't sing that song like Leandra. The song she goes, Lord, deliver me. All I seem to do is hurt me. Hurt me. Oh Lord, deliver me. All I seem to do is hurt me. Imagine you the one hurting you. You the one hurting you. You the one limiting you. You the one holding you down. You the one disrespecting yourself. You the one that's cutting you off from your cut. You the one that's stopping when you at the end. Imagine you running a race. I'm running a 4x1, and imagine that there's 3 generations behind me, and I keep stopping at the end. And so because I stop, they don't get in. It don't matter how hard they work. It don't matter what they do until the spiritual bondage, that altar that I set up, the give up altar I set up, get knocked down and get given back to the Father and
you
get
hit the key. You hit the key from them.
Them 3 generations after me got to deal with my mess. And if none of them deal with that mess, then then we start a whole nother cycle, because with each one of them 3 to 4 generations, they become responsible for behind them. And so imagine that you multiplying anger and hatred and belittlement and addiction. Imagine you're the one that brought it into the bloodline, and it's manifesting because you didn't do nothing about it. And because you won't do nothing about it, you messing up everybody around you. Lord, deliver me. This is my exodus. This is my exodus. This is my exodus. This is my exodus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Think about that piece right there that I just said. Like, we walking through this month. If you are in the city of Topeka or surrounding areas, we at True Holiness Church will be in revival. The revival starts on, I'm pulling up the calendar right now because I don't want to give you a half date. But the revival will be the 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. We will be in revival. It's funny because God is doing things in a whole different order. We do not normally be in revival on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at the ministry I serve at. We normally do, and even when I operate the revivals that God allowed me to be a host on, I normally do it a Friday and a Saturday. God has us going into revival at 6 p.m. I believe it's 6 p.m. on the 22nd. Or 6 p.m. on 22nd, we'll be in Passover. So we'll be stepping into Passover. And I believe I got to check right to make sure I give you the right word, but I believe it starts on Sunday at 6 p.m. because remember there was the night and then the day. It was, and so I need to go through and make sure I give y'all the right word on that. But we'll be in Passover. So everything, that's what I'm saying, lay it out there. All this stuff, get it laid out there. Do the work with God because this is about to pass. This thing is passing. God's already did the sacrifice where he passed over. So let all that go with him. All that stuff that you struggling with, that you got issues, let it go and let it deal with him. I want the Father to deal with my mess. I can't keep carrying this. He taking me to a whole nother level. I can't keep carrying. Imagine carrying a whole bunch of weight with you, stank with you, foolery with you, while you got to load up and go into small places, big places. You got to go a step before kings and queens. You got to be down where you're able to work the streets and walk the streets and go to those that are in the dark places. Imagine trying to carry a whole bunch of luggage into a corner. That don't even make sense. If you seen somebody with all their luggage on the corner, you be concerned about them. But we running around here carrying your luggage into your office. Every day you carrying a whole bunch of stuff into this workplace with you. Your kids going to school and your kids got a whole classroom that they carrying with them, but everybody else supposed to be able to sit in that classroom space with them. And imagine having 30 students in the classroom that already are carrying enough space to already cover up the physical building of the school. We need deliverance right now. All of it. We need to let it go. Imagine you got a brand new car, but you still carrying the last 6 cars you was driving in that car. Imagine you just stood at the altar to get married. And because you ain't dealt with your soul ties and your issues from your past, that now you got your husband or your wife is now got to carry all them bodies that you laid up with. This is Exodus right now. This is deliverance. Imagine that. And you want them to be committed to you, but you committed to everybody in the marriage where you ain't even married to them because your spirit with everybody you were laid with. So they only getting a shell of you. Imagine if you was the one on the other side and you was the one that received the shell because that person that you married was split up with everybody else and anybody else. So this is our season of Exodus. I love you all, and I thank you for allowing yourself to hold space with me and my guy, Seth Irving. This guy is a poet. This guy is an entrepreneur. This guy is a father. He is a world changer, and he is on his path. He is doing the work for his life to be transformed, made over. But know this, y'all ain't even seen the man that this man will become. Right? Because he is anointed and appointed by the Lord. But in this season, it's our Exodus. Amen. I gotta clean it up. We're going somewhere. I see you all on Friday. Bishop Theodis Williams will be here on Friday. We will join you all at 7:30 a.m. Get ready for a firm and consistent conversation with your guy who is in the business of the evangelism, the deliverance, the break loose, break free from all bondage. Bishop Theodis Williams, the humble servant, the head of True Holiness, Family Church Dome Ministries, distinct gentleman within the community, servant, activist. This man be on the move. So y'all join me to get a fresh word, a rhema word, a real word that's going to set you loose. Here we go. We'll be here on Friday. And remember, if you want to make donations, you can still make the donations. I am still raising money up until in my first phase of fundraising. Thank you, Seth, for your donation. Thank you. We are still raising money for this phase of the donating and funding up until May the 2nd. And then we will move into phase 2. But I want to say thank you to everyone that has made a donation. I'll make sure I place those links out here for you all. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.